argumentative with one another. You know, in Luke chapter 22 and verse 24, it said, there arose also a dispute among them as to which one of them was regarded to be the greatest. And again, you're dealing with imperfect people here. A people that failed Christ in the darkest hour. Matthew 26, verse 56. But all of this has taken place to fulfill the scriptures of the prophets. Then all the disciples left him and fled. All of these problems that the disciples had, yet Jesus didn't abandon any of them. He didn't abandon any of them. He continued to teach. He continued to correct. He continued to love. Bearing with one another really is about seeing beyond the moment. Beyond the moment when there may be a conflict between brethren. And certainly it's the ability for us to take a step back from the moment and remember who we are. Remember that God is still working on that other person and God is still working on us. Take some time to step back and get some perspective on things. You know, Paul describes this long view perspective here. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. Love is patient. Love is kind and is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. Does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own. It is not provoked. Does not take into account a wrong suffered. Bearing with one another means refusing to let temporary frustrations destroy long-term relationships. And I've seen this too often among brethren. We've got to remember these things. Remember who you are and who you belong to. That's certainly going to help us with our attitude toward one another. Seeing beyond, seeing further. Looking at the end in view. And certainly this is important when emotions start to get in the way of things, when emotions arise. When emotions get kind of high, it seems to be that we react kind of quickly. But again, Scriptures instructs us to slow down. Slow down. Remember the bigger picture. In James chapter 1 and verse 19, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Slow to anger. So what does bearing with one another mean? It means not reacting out of the moment. Bearing with one another means not assuming the worst in people. What was that? Be impatient. Be impatient. Not when we're impatient. What is the result of that? That means that we're going to give up on others too soon. When if we just took a little time, things might improve. Unity may be preserved. Because, again, this is what the Scriptures instruct us to do. Be eager. Be eager to preserve these things. It means, bearing up with one another really doesn't look at the other person. It really looks at ourselves. It really looks at ourselves because it It means holding ourselves account in account. Holding ourselves steady. Why? Because Jesus held us steady. Jesus is patient with us. Think of how many times that we've disappointed the Lord with our lives and the choices that we make, things that we do. Let me tell you, I would have given up on me a long time ago. But, thinking about what the Lord has done for us, how much more should we treat one another? Ephesians 4, again, 1 through 3. Why do you think Paul connects humility and patience directly to unity? Go ahead, Mick. I had Mick first, and then Eric. Go ahead.
I think. All right. Can you say the question one more time?
Well, why do you think that the Apostle Paul he connects humility and patience directly to humility?
I think.
Or not humility, unity.
Unity. I think it really levels us out on the playing field. It kind of shows that we're no different from each other, especially when we highlight our own faults, right? And we try to extend that humility to somebody else. It really shows like we're all one and the same. We're all human beings. We're all imperfect. We all need the same grace that God supplies, right? There's no partiality.
Yeah. Yes. Eric, do you have something to add?
No, I just wanted you to repeat the question.
Oh.
Thank you.
Humility and patience directly directed to unity. This was one of the points that Paul was concerned about concerning the church in Philippi. He said in chapter 2, therefore, if there is any encouragement in Christ, if there is any consolation of love, if there is any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and compassion, make my joy complete by being of the same mind, maintaining the same love, united in spirit. Intent on one purpose. How do we do these things? Verse 3, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do you think, in regard to one another being more important than ourselves, do you think that that's going to require us to bear up with one another when times get difficult? Absolutely. Verse 4, do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. Verse 5, have this attitude in yourselves, which was also in Christ Jesus. And I believe that this is the reason why this humility and patience is directly connected to unity. Because if we are going to be unified in spirit, we must put on the attitude of Jesus Christ. Again, these are directives. They are not suggestions. Yes, ma'am.
Even Jesus, when he was overwhelmed with crowds and demands on him, would say, well, okay, I have to be alone now and pray. I'm going to go off on my own and pray. So he took himself, instead of addressing or attacking others, he took himself away from the situation and focused on himself, took himself to take a little time to be patient and regroup and pray to his Father, and then come back in unity to join others and to lead again, or to be a part of the group.
Yeah.
So even Jesus needed the patience and the time to be on his own and figure things out.
That may be another aspect that we can talk about in the future concerning this. When we have a situation where the bearing up with one another is directly called for, taking time to remove yourself from the situation to pray is certainly going to be important. Now, bearing with one another. Now, you know, separating yourself from conflict, of course, doesn't mean, at least for a temporary period of time, it doesn't mean not dealing with the conflict. What do you think the difference between bearing with someone? What do you think is the difference between bearing up with someone and avoiding just simply avoiding conflict? What do you think is the difference between those two? Go ahead, Katie.
Bearing up with one another is being there regardless of how it's affecting you. I mean, granted, over on page 51, I underlined the sentence that reads, "Patience is the ability to be slow to react when others annoy or anger you." And that can apply both ways. I mean, if there's a conflict with another person, it's not necessarily just the other person's fault, unless they're just coming to you to vent for advice, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But bearing up carries the idea of carrying the load through to the end.
Yeah. And not just avoiding the conflict, just settling the conflict in love.
Avoiding
Yeah.
it doesn't
I've seen this before in the church between brethren, conflict between two, and the result is, I'm going to sit over here on this side of the building. You're going to sit over there on that side of the building. We're just not going to talk to each other. We're just not going to have anything to do with each other, and that's just going to be the end of it. Me, Mom.
Well, if you don't settle the conflict, it'll fester, and that will cause division.
Yes. It is certainly not inducive to unity
Then you
in
cause
church.
unity.
Yeah. Eric.
Yeah, Steve, sometimes I can't even stand myself.
All right.
But
But the problem is, what's the problem with that? You can't get away from yourself, can you?
Exactly. Yesterday, Sarah and I were hanging a handrail and going up the stairway, and I kept dropping the screw and just getting really frustrated. Sarah says, "Be patient with yourself." I'm like, you know, that's really good advice. But you know, if I understand I gotta give myself patience, what kind of rope do I need to give others around me?
Yeah. Very good. So how do we do it? Sorry. Sarah, go ahead.
How do we do it?
Yeah.
I think time plays a huge role, and the word patience was used, which was defined as slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just because somebody wants resolution to what they perceive to be a conflict doesn't mean that that other person is ready to resolve, because, I don't know, I'm reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People again, and it talks about this interrelational work that you have to do before you can be mature enough to do relational work. And if somebody has to pull back in order to reshape or to examine, maybe re-examine, like you just said about Jesus, he had to pull back. Okay, one time he didn't, he just overturned the tables.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that, he had righteous indignation. But even in being right, at other times he can pull back and pray, because they were sheep without a shepherd. There was this long process of how this thing had to unfold. So how it works is sometimes bearing up doesn't mean engaging. It means staying consistent, even when others are not.
Yeah. And sometimes that's hard to do. We gotta work to that. You know, it's one thing to say, bear up with one another. It's a totally different thing to actually do it, to carry it out. Yeah, especially when personalities clash. Especially when there's the difficulties, because and especially in areas when feelings get hurt and you know our frustrations are building and our emotions are kind of getting the best of us. Go ahead, Meemaw.
Maybe you could agree to disagree and thereby save unity in the congregation, because it could be some little something that we really don't know the answer to, and we're
Yes.
both guessing.
And it's not that, you know, we're never going to work to resolve it, but guess what? We're going to have the spiritual maturity.
To agree, not to agree.
Just I mean, it's like not even the spiritual maturity, just being mature. You know, not acting like children toward one another. We're going to act like adults toward one another. We're going to understand that there are differences, that there are conflicts, but we're even in those times we're gonna treat one another with a loving attitude. Katie,
Even though patience is very short.
what was that?
Short patience.
Yeah,
I have short patience.
you have short patience.
Patience.
Oh, yeah.
I have short patience sometimes, like with my grandkids, like I want them to do stuff and they don't want to do it right there. My patience is very short, and I can get frustrated. You know, so sometimes I have to pay for patience.
Yeah.
My patience are very short. I be wanting to happen just like right then and there sometimes.
Well, you know,
I know
but
it's
it's a great thing to recognize these things about ourselves, because if we don't recognize them, how is it that we're going to be able to work on them, right? How is it that we're going to look at these commandments, understand these directives, and make corrections? Go ahead, Katie.
You made the comment that we don't need to be like children, we need to be like adults, but at times it would help to remember the characteristics of a child who are so quick to forgive and not hold a grudge.
Oh yeah. I might have said that out of turn, didn't I? That's a really good point. But you know, I was thinking more of in turn of children. They're more guided by emotion rather than intellect.
Right.
Right.
I knew what you meant, but still, it doesn't hurt to keep in mind some of the characteristics.
Yeah. All right. So how do we do these things? You know what? This will probably be a good stopping point, because we're gonna get into all of these areas. You know, what does it mean to actually live out bearing with one another, putting these things to practice? Because the Apostle Paul, he doesn't leave us guessing. You know, scriptures show us how to show this kind of patience. Show us how these things can actually become real in a congregation. And before we dive into it, I think, you know, we'll stop a little early this morning, but I think this will be a good stopping point. And we'll get into to all of these points that the author brings up. Of course, these are biblical points. They're biblically grounded. The idea of humility, we're going to talk about that's seeing ourselves for who we are, seeing ourselves clearly. Gentleness, meekness, as we talked about, strength under control. Patience, slow to react, a desire to forgive, a commitment to unity. And all of this, of course, accomplished by love. And Lord willing, we'll get into that next week and wrap up this chapter. I appreciate everybody's participation. Thank you.
So we're gonna start with how do we do it?
Yes, ma'am.